Hello, cellists. So welcome to the new podcast and the new Digital Conservatoire, which I've set up on Gumroad, and you can access that pretty much anywhere on the internet. So my blogs, my websites, etc., etc. They all have a link to the Conservatoire, and the Conservatoire gives you constant updates of the podcasts and of all my classes and all the new play-alongs. So we're going to be doing a lot of play-alongs. I think they're such a useful tool for us. And today I'm going to talk about the cello, or rather the books that I think are almost like Bibles for cello playing and for success. So the ones that we'll be using this term are Suzuki, which I always use. So we'll start at the beginning, I think, and start working through. Although I may do, if you ask me to do more advanced ones, then I will if you're a member. So there's no problem with that. But for the moment, because I'm just starting up the school, I'm going to start using the Suzuki Volume 1 and work methodically through it on all instruments, actually, not just cello, but obviously this is just cello I'm talking about now. The reason I like Suzuki is because they work really well online, because there's a lot of listening and less watching. So I do think it's important to watch, and I'm doing all the videos as well. But the podcast is really, really useful for tips and tricks and things like that. But the play-alongs are absolutely stupendous. If you want to understand the basics, where you're supposed to go, you can slow them down, speed them up, etc., etc. They're only a tool. They're not, the goddess of cello in themselves. They're just a tool. You don't have things like expression in them and volume controls. None of that occurs. It's literally just a basic metronome pulsed piece for you to get those notes down and understand the shifts. That's the most important thing. Then you move on to becoming more fluent. You become fluent, and then you can inject a bit more interesting, anything that you want, really. You could play around with sounds and volumes and tempo and whatever you like. But certainly that's when you start looking at personality. But before you do any of that, just to get the notes down, understand what the basic sound is. Do you see what I mean? It's a bit like looking at the ingredients of a cake, and they're all there. So you look at this play along, you listen to it, you know what's supposed to be happening, you listen to it at different speeds. Yep, right, okay, you've got it. Then you put all the ingredients together and you make a beautiful cake, or you make a beautiful version of your piece. Do you see what I mean? I'll also be using the ABRSM. You can actually get those online as well. You can download the music online. So you've got a digital copy. If you're quite fine using a tablet to read the music off, that's a really good way of doing it. But we'll talk about that in each individual lesson and broadcast. So the other books I'm going to use are The Secret Life of Cello Strings. This is Harmonics for Cellists, and this is by Caroline Bosanquet, spelt Bosanquet. So Bosanquet, it's spelt, but I imagine it's Bosanquet or Bosanquet. And that's published by SJ Music. And this is really, really fantastic. It's just explaining to you all about the various harmonics, where you can find them. And once you know where the harmonics are, you can actually find all the other positions as well. It's so useful. So we're going to be using that, and we'll be making some really interesting work as well. We'll be talking about composing and perhaps using those harmonics in written music that I do. I use them a lot. So in my own compositions. Now, if you sign up for the Conservatoire, you get access to all my compositions as well. So we're going to be starting those. And I will be doing those throughout the term, probably one a week for us to learn. And they'll be really honing all those skills that you've learned, or hopefully learned, through the Suzuki or the ABRSM, or etc., etc. So I'll be keeping them within grade and within key. Do you see what I mean? But I'm definitely tempted to throw always a couple of harmonics in. I just think they're just so much fun, really. So that's those ones. What else am I using? Okay, the ABRSM cello scales and arpeggios, grades 1 to 5 and 6 to 8. So they usually come in 2 volumes. So we'll definitely be starting with the 1 to 5, which are pretty straightforward, and we'll be working quite hard on those. I mean, look, the thing is, I'll do the one broadcast and then I move on, but you've got the broadcast forever. Do you see what I mean? So if you miss some, you can always go back onto the membership site. It's really, really easy. The other thing, thirds in thumb position, for the cello. This is by Cassia Harvey, book 1. And this is another really, really useful starter for those exercises in scales and keys, and just trying to, learn how to get that intonation spot on. So that's another really useful one. The 40 Etudes for Solo Cello, Opus 73, which is the David Popper. I'm mentioning it now because if you listen to David Popper, these exercises, you'll get a sort of I always think you can't help falling in love with them. They're so difficult, and they're for advanced musicians. Don't get me wrong, but what we can do, you see, just because something's for an advanced musician doesn't mean to say we can't look at a bar, or we can't look at a line or a section. Do you see what I mean? So I always like to get my students started quite early on really difficult things, but you only need to do a little bit, even if it's just a tiny phrase, a little motif, whatever it is, it just gets your juices flowing. And then when you do become more advanced and your aptitude is such that, you want to attack all 40 full-length solo etudes, you're not going to be scared by them. And I think that's a very cool attitude. Don't be scared by music ever. So yeah, if you want to sign up, you just pop to my website and you'll find it on there, the Conservatoire. There's a tab. You can go there. iServalan Digitalia is my Gumroad site, and that's where it's like my shop, if you like, and that's where you can sign up and you can buy lots of different things. If you're a member, you get all the music free, so all of it. You get, even free ringtones, but you get, all my my teacher notes, my student notes, everything else, all the play-alongs, this podcast, and all the videos, and it's all included in the price. But you can buy things separately as well. So you don't have to be a member if you don't want to be. That's absolutely fine. It's all very it's interactive, but it's not so much of a sort of community thing, because I understand how people learn these days. They're looking for sort of bite-size support, and that's really what the Digital Conservatoire is about. So it's looking for musical excellence through the use of digital music tools. Okay, so yeah, how exciting. And don't forget, if you fancy playing a second instrument, there's going to be different lessons for different instruments. I'm only strings and piano. I'm not that good. Nothing I can blow, I'm afraid, and nothing I can bang. I'd quite like, actually, to do a bit of percussion. I'm really envious of the percussion in orchestra, but a gal only has so much time. So there we go, folks. See you soon.